All right, hello everyone. Thank you for waiting. We're 7 minutes in of that track. Crystal Ashes got right the title. The title is Alacrity, my third track of my EP Winsome. So it's kind of a happy melody for kind of a happy time, even though it's Holy Week. It's a very serious week as far as religion is concerned, but Sunday is always a great day, and I've had a really nice, good day of rest. Let me take that banner off and get into the comments before I turn on the camera for you. And audio sounds great. Good. Thank you, my wonderful prof and channel member. And let's turn on the camera. All right. It's a little warm outside, so I'm in short sleeves. And my prof says I look wonderful, but my hair's so crazy. And I think it's because of pollen or spring or whatever the case is, but it's staying up today. So glad to see y'all. This stream is for you guys who are artists who are more interested in, you can be interested in more than one field, or it could be multiple facets of the same field. We'll get into that. I didn't have really a topic until I just thought about it like 2 hours ago. I had another topic, but I kind of want to be more prepared for that topic it has to do with postmodernism, but in the real life application, which is at least in the university setting, but that will be probably for another week. Before I even get into the chat and start on just going off the cuff of what it means to be a horribly eclectic artist, next week or next weekend is Easter. And we do have family coming next week, so I'll be with family. I'll take the day off streaming. And then also, we did forget to mention it with Prof. He usually streams Saturday nights, Professor Geek at 9 p.m. But we will be on our way to the Easter Vigil the Mass that Saturday from 8:30 to 11 or midnight or something. So we will not be present in the streaming sphere next weekend. Whatever Prof wants to do with that is his call, but I think I will just take the week off for the holiday, since most people are just with family anyway. And but then come right back the week after that. So let's go ahead and see how y'all doing. So I think my description question was, do you have multiple interests? And they can be artistic interests, or they could be a matter of sci-fi, or I meant to say science, or engineering, or a vocation of some kind, or, pursuing multiple interests don't have to really pertain to just exclusively artistic interests. It is the case with me. And I'm glad it's that way, because if I wanted to pursue something, if I ever wanted to pursue something like trigonometry, for instance, it would be in the context of something like super collider and audio and sound synthesis. But let's go ahead and welcome the chat. We've got Ghost Planet Maxine. Good to see you. Brian Gilmartin says to answer the question in the description, so it was in the description. You're like, heck yeah, balancing gaming, drawing, anime, comic books, and metal is tough. Like, do you play metal, or are you an instrumentalist, or do you just listen to it and study it, analyze it? It'd be interesting to know. I'm talking about interests in the form of anything, like application, analysis, whatever the case is. Professor Geek says, ready for your wisdom, my eclectic Tenuviel. My eclectic Tenuviel. I like it. Ace Mowick, thank you. Channel member says, good afternoon, Madam Essie. Good to see you. Ahoy, friends. Crystal Ashes, good to see you also. Ghost Planet is mentioning that you may be late since you're out of the house. Always good to have you if you just want to pop in and say hi. Private Eye, good to see you. Always happy that you're here. Amy L as well, good to see you. And Big Al, channel mod and friend, longtime friend. Thank you for wishing me a good stream. And sci-fi author Adega Outlaw is also in the house. Check out his work. Good to see you too. And I think, Scorpiopio is also in. That may be everyone. I think, at least in the chat. Dr. Y! I'm gonna just pull pull up your comment because I haven't seen you. By the way, that's a great logo. Is that like a is it a human is it a bird avatar or is it like a bird head or maybe a lion head? Because I know you've done lion motifs before. Um over a human head. I'm not quite sure. Looks cool though. I love electric blue. I love electric blue against black. It's pretty much my favorite color. I used to love sapphire blue as my favorite color when I was a kid, and it's sort of still my favorite color, but I'm always happy when I see electric blue. All right. Crystal Ashes says, I like listening to your music while walking. While out walking, so I've memorized several of the track titles. Yeah, I'm geeky like that. Hey, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for listening to my music on your walks. I'm glad, especially with that track, it's pretty upbeat, it's pretty happy. But I take care titling my tracks in attractive ways. Just I like the title. Maybe it has to make sense. I really have a word or two selected for the title to evoke whatever it is. So alacrity is keen, it's sharp, it's present, it's enthusiastic, that those are all the meanings or the contexts of that word alacrity. And so I used very driving rhythm, really tight percussion, and then a very sharp, not really in a bad way, but a very acidic instrument that is also very happy. So, yes, Big Al says, "Have a blessed Holy Week, you too, my friend. Thank you." Brian Gilmartin says, "I listen to a lot of metal music. I find it cathartic with all the nonsense I've had to deal with in life." I bet, yeah, Prof is right there with him and rock and all that. Yeah, and I've said this before. I love instrumental metal music. I can't really get into the singing style. That's just my preference. But I love instrumental metal. I I can binge on it. Sometimes if I have like some downtime and I just binge on it, especially like metal covers of video games, um, I could stay up way too late listening to that kind of music, and then I'm like, great, I'm up. I'm not going to bed. One sec. Ghost Planet says you go to Sunday church buffet. That's great. That's awesome. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, it's a phoenix, says Dr. Y. I'll just post this up. It's a phoenix to be exact, or at least a stylized take on one. It's from one of the story ideas. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love birds. They're my favorite. They're my favorite animals, and I love the symbolism with birds, whether for good guys or bad guys. I do appreciate birds. I'm convinced. I know I've said this before, but if we all had spiritual animals, I'm convinced the hawk is mine because I've had encounters with hawks that are really weird. Like, oh, why are you looking at me like this? And why did you land on the stop sign as I was passing by? That's so weird. All right. Check out Animals as Leaders, great instrumental metal. Yeah, I think either you've recommended that, Ring of Edwin, or I have heard, maybe you have recommended that. And I should listen, really should. Asa says, what if it's more clean vocals and power metal light and like it's actually not the lyrics themselves, it's the style of singing. The shouting is a little bit disjointed for me. Stratovarius, for example, I'm not familiar with that artist. It's the style of singing because I know the person is shouting, but it's quiet and it's buried in the mix. And so for me, that's a disconnect. I'm like, and even if it was the absolute volume of shouting, I wouldn't prefer the shouting because it's really tense. But I love it when people shred on their instruments, whether it be drums or the bass or the electric guitar. All right, Crystal Ashes says, well, that's a fun coincidence. The main character of the story I'm writing has a raven motif. I also love birds. Oops, there's that. Yeah, is the raven for usually ravens in literature are symbols of omens and premonition or something foreboding about to commence. It'd be interesting. Try Nightwish says Ace, particularly when Tarja was a singer. She's just, oh, I probably would like that. I probably, yes, yeah. I think soprano for a metal, uh, because metal is it's kind of operatic. I think metal is the closest mainstream type of music that is really operatic, like symphony metal. So I think I could definitely get into something like that. All right. So let's talk about being eclectic. If you're not, I'm going to talk about being eclectic. While there are advantages, there are also disadvantages. And, you know, I say of a horribly eclectic artist as the title of the stream. I may change the title. I don't know. Speaking from my experience, but this isn't just a me thing. I think this is for people who may run into the same scenario or the same kind of lifestyle, or they find themselves with the same problems per se. And it's just an interesting topic. Uh, so I'll start with my own experience and application. Uh, and if this is a similar thing with you, whether you're pursuing artistic goals privately, or maybe you're trying to market your art on social media, or maybe even thinking about, doing a little bit more YouTube on the side as a form of social marketing, whatever the case is, you can find you can all it I would say being an eclectic artist takes days, weeks, months, and years of constant assessment, constant re-evaluation. Like, if you've ever been in a job, like usually it's a corporate job, but if you've been in a job long enough, like usually longer than 6 months or longer than a year, before you get your raise, if you do get a raise, you would get a raise depending on how good you perform or how well you perform. And it's this grid, or this criteria of, oh yeah, you scored 5 here, you scored a 3 here, it needs improvement, and all that. And I always kind of keep that as like a back catalog of things, just for personal things, just being an artist, and saying, okay, this is where I need to improve. This is where I feel good and I'm on the right track, and all that. So let me just tell you my experience first, and then we'll get into the chat. Got this silly share your referral link by StreamYard. StreamYard just started mandating this referral link, and it's my OCD is seeing it at the bottom of the chat, and I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that as the last comment per se. Anyway, so I have a few interests. I have a few interests that I feel can be uh, joined, as a force of nature. I feel like there can be a reconciliation, not reconciliation, but I do feel like a lot of my divergent interests can be melded into one great thing, whatever that looks like in the future. Now, I just turned 38, and I've come to, so last month I turned 38, and I've come to this wonderfully, like, wonderful acceptance of just letting things take their time. When I was 22, 21 years old, I wanted to have it down, before I was 30. I wanted to have a happy career, making money, doing the things I love. I wanted to be able to have a mastery of everything I was interested in. And as you work in your craft or your multiple crafts, you understand over time into your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s that some of these endeavors are just they just take a long time, if not a lifetime. And I've come to accept that. I don't have any resentment or apprehension about just taking my time in a certain craft. Now, with being eclectic and having multiple interests, and you want to master each of these interests, at least for me, I won't be so fast in mastering something. So whether it's a learning curve, a skill, an instrument, whatever the case is. So what are my interests? Well, this is outside family life. Of course, I see myself as a wife and, someone who is wanting to make sure that the family is taken care of. And I have a job, and now fortunately my job is relating to music as a music teacher. So apart from like the real world, what do I identify as someone with a portfolio of interests? Well, I'll go through five. There's probably six or seven, but uh five main interests, and there's all these little subdivisions or sub interests, sub categories of these interests. So the five main ones are music educator, musician, that's the second one, composer, sci-fi writer, and art commentator. Now, as far as development and income, as far as it being an actual career at 38 years old, I've had 10 years of music education experience, actually making an income teaching music or being an educator of some kind. So I have 10 years out of the way. And I think, unless something drastically changes, whether a life circumstance or society and the economy or whatever happens with the American social sphere or political sphere, I think it's very likely I will continue to make income as a music teacher. Whether that's in the physical store, in a physical studio, or on the online space. And, about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, I would have had a problem with that. Not that I didn't want to be a music teacher. In fact, 20 years ago, I wanted to be a public school orchestra teacher. I wanted to conduct like highly competitive high school orchestras. That was my dream. Then I realized I was like, I wanted to be that teacher because I thought I'd have a whole classroom of students that were just like me as pursuing music because I loved music so much and I wanted to get better on my craft and all that. So that actually changed. I decided not to be I decided not to be a public music teacher, a public education music teacher right when I graduated with the degree that would get me that job. That's that's how it switched. Then I pursued music composition in a higher education level. I'm like, I really want to be a composer. Now, what did that look like? When I was leaving my graduate school, I wanted to be a composer and a sound designer and make money off of that. And so what did that look like? Well, composers make their careers off of movies, off of video games, and I wanted to do that because I love composing music. And then it really took, man, I would say about a good 10 years after that, that it was like, well, actually, I don't need a career in music composition. If I make money off of my music, oh my gosh, that's wonderful and that's a blessing. But I just want to make music. Like I've come to that point at 38 years old. This is just a stark difference from being 28 or 25 or whatever. I just like making music. Now, it is true, I sell my music. I like to make music to sell, but there's no pressure building up inside me like I have to make a career of this. If it comes to that point, I'm happy, but I sort of left the idea like, okay, I don't need to compose music for video games. So now going back before I get really off topic, so the music educator musician is the thing that will likely continue as my main income. And I'm very happy about that because I've spent 30 years in music, so it came to something. It came to actually being able to teach and gig and things like that. And I can find different ways, different avenues with that idea, with that income. Now, being a composer, I wanted to make money. I still want to make money off of my music. And if it came to that point where it was supplemental income or even a main stream of income, I would be perfectly happy. I'd be fine. But there are conditions with that. There are conditions that come with that. The first condition is in order to make money as a mainstream or main line of income, it'd have to be music I already like composing and producing. That's the first thing. And then it would have to be music I'm very proud of and very happy to show to the world. And then the third thing would be that people like it. So, I mean, those conditions would have to be met in order to make money off of music. So now I've come to the point at 38 years old where it's like, I'm so happy to be making money And I'm married to Professor Geek, so he makes money off of his teaching and being a professor, and also things like write it. He's found different avenues, editing, manuscripts, and college papers and all of that. So his experience has been lucrative in that way, and my music education experience has been lucrative that way. But back then I was like, oh well, that there's no glory in teaching music for money. And it's like now I don't care. It's like I love teaching music. I really appreciate that music education experience, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but like after 10 years of constantly teaching, teaching 4, 5, even 6 days a week. Pretty knowledgeable now. I've got this. So the music educator, musician, those are my pursuits because I love it, but I also think there could be an actual side income with that, or part-time income, whatever the case is. Maybe even full-time, but hopefully not. And then being a composer. So music educator, musician, composer. The second, or excuse me, that's the fourth. The fourth pursuit is pursuing science fiction, reading science fiction, but ultimately writing science fiction. I've loved the genre ever since 2012, 2013, when I started reading things like 1984, having these ideas. I always thought, even as a little kid, I always thought I'd be a writer because I always had these stories that I would write down in a journal. But I never pursued like, well, maybe as a second grader or something, like I want to be a cowgirl and an award-winning author. Maybe I had those ambitions as a second grader. Why did I want to be an author? Because I read all the time. I just always read books. I'd read like 50 books a summer. That was me. I don't read. I definitely don't read as much as Prof. Like for every book I read, he like reads 5 books. I try to read as much as I can. Um, but ever since loving science fiction and having these stories, well, I've got to write these stories. I'm in the process of publishing. I'd hope to publish my second short story by May, because I just love writing short sci-fi work, and then I have epic, long, 5-part series I'm working on as well. But do I ever want to make money as a sci-fi writer? I mean, if it happens to be the case, then awesome. But if I just write because I need to write, because why do I need to write? Because it's just a sensation. It's like a fire just smoldering, and it's like I've got to get these ideas. I've got to get these thoughts. I've got to get these scenes. I've got to get these characters onto a page, whether I publish it or not, but I'm likely going to publish everything I write because I want to. I mean, these stories are meant to be told. They're meant to be shared. And so that's the fourth thing. That's not four, that's three. Four. That's the fourth thing I'm interested in. And then the final thing is, in one way or another, I would like to pursue being an art commentator, whatever form that takes. Right now, it's very informal with my YouTube channel. I'm usually my stream is topical when it comes to art, and it isn't formal. It's not an educator type way. I'm not like some of these wonderful art channels that have wonderful video essays and wonderful pictures of images, or documentaries, like informal documentaries of composers. I'm not there, and I don't think I will be there. But in one form or another, I have this pressing in my heart to pursue some kind of commentary on art. Could be in the form of a blog, a nonfiction book, this informal setting that is the stream. And so, all in all, those are 5 artistic pursuits: music education, musicianship, being a composer, a sci-fi writer, and a art commentator of some kind. Now, what do you do with all that? Because I won't even get into like the subcategories, because there's a lot of things I want to pursue under the sphere of music education. There are things I want to pursue under the sphere of composer. Like there is so much that goes into composing music, especially music you want to do independently. And basically, if you're a solo artist, and that's a lot more common these days than being in a band. But you're not just composing a piece of music, you're you know, you're composing, you're arranging different instruments, electronic or acoustic or a combination of both. And that can be true with playing violin and singing in the realm of electronica, for instance. Composing, arranging, mixing, mastering, post-production, recording. I mean, there are so many little categories that also take a lot of time uh, um, with practice. It takes a lot of practice, and each of those little subcategories are things you need to invest in as far as your time and attention, and maybe money, but definitely your time and attention. Things like my digital audio workstation, like Logic Pro, and then also Super Collider. Super Collider is its own separate instrument. It's you practice Super Collider. You practice that audio synthesis software like a new instrument. And, I've learned in the years of being an eclectic artist, I was telling a student of mine who's in his 70s, and I can imagine it's very common for my much older students to feel a little disheartened. It's like, oh, is it too late for me, or is it, I wish I am doing what I did. I wish I did what am I trying to say? I wish I was doing now what I can't even say this. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish I was doing this 40 years ago. That's what I meant to say. Um, and I told him, if it for any encouragement, I should be year 10 in Super Collider. I started Super Collider. Well, I had my formal education at the University of Washington, and I passed the first class with a 2.1, and I almost failed the second class. So I didn't have a good start with Super Collider. So I decided to learn like years later, years after the University of Washington. I'm like, I think I'll try Super Collider again. And it's been like since 2015. So I've been kind of dabbling in Super Collider for like 10 years. And I think I'm like year two. I'm not 10 years an expert in Super Collider. I can't teach Super Collider like in a formal classroom setting. There's no way. I could always practice teaching it, but so that's a whole other element. It's a whole other instrument to learn under the sphere of composer. This has nothing to do with violin. This has nothing to do with learning piano or being a music educator. There's just so much. And there's only, so many hours in a day. And then finally with, science fiction writing, I sort of have a handle on, because it's getting better with your writing, your editing, your different form of writing, whether long form science fiction or short form. And then, the editing goes through different people, and then obviously you have a little channel, a little network of people you like to hire when it comes to publishing your self-published works. So there's not as many avenues for sci-fi, but there are many stories just crowding my brain, just like it's gonna be years before I get all these stories out. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm like approaching 60 or approaching 70 years old and I haven't told all the stories I need to tell. So there's that. There's that you face that problem when you're an eclectic artist, when you have other pursuits. And then finally, talking about art to me is very, very important. Even in the informal setting, that's also going to take some time and attention. Now, what are maybe there's no notes or anything. I'm just going off the cuff. I guess I can talk about advantages and disadvantages of being an eclectic artist. The disadvantage, the first thing I'm thinking, and I just mentioned this before, is if you have many pursuits, in my case, at least five. I'm not even mentioning my YouTube channel. The idea of being social and marketing my stuff. That's a whole other sphere of time and attention and dedication. And I don't do YouTube for money. I do it just so people are more and more aware of my thoughts and my opinions and ultimately my art. So that's a whole other thing. But where are you? What's the disadvantage? Well, the first disadvantage, it's kind of a two-parter. It has to do with time. When you're so interested in all these different pursuits, you have to accept, especially if you're not polymath that can master anything, or a diversity of things. Like, especially if you're taking your time, many years mastering one thing at a time, you have to accept that this mastery of any of your pursuits is going to be a lifelong endeavor. You're not going to get it down at 20 years old, maybe not even 30 or 40 or even 50 years old. You have to accept life of constant evaluation and re-evaluating and constant assessment and reassessing. And that is over the span of your life, no matter how long you live. Now, I always pray I have a long life so I can get all the things I want to accomplish, but there's no expectation that I have for myself anymore. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe you than I have in this sphere. But there's I feel personally accepting of how long each thing takes. Because even if you are pursuing just one thing, you have to spend years cultivating that craft. You have to spend years mastering your skills in whatever you want to pursue. And then that can bounce off, like your mode of practicing and your routine can bounce off, like, oh, okay, I've spent years on this instrument, now I can spend years on how to teach this instrument. Or I've spent years on this specialty, and this will transfer at least my work ethic and my workflow to this field. So I'm not saying it's a separate isolated experience with every pursuit, even very similar pursuits. There is a little bit of I guess what I would compare to is compound interest. So whatever you've invested in and devoted most of your life to already, that actually will transfer in some way, in a positive way, to other fields of interest, even if they're very different fields of interest. But the disadvantage is time. You If it's more than one pursuit, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the case is, you have to accept that things will take much more time to master. It will be much slower. It will be a longer journey for you. What might take 10 or so years of practice with one thing will take 20 or 30 years of many things. And what I struggle with the most is I want to be a prolific artist already. I want to be releasing music very frequently. But because it's not just music, it's very hard because, I'm hoping to release a single track within the next few weeks to a month, but it's not just that track. It's composing another piece. It's working in Super Collider. It's writing my structure of a story or the story itself. It won't, my downtime after work and of course being with my husband, or going to church and all that, being with family, calling people, which I'm very bad at. uh, it's not just downtime for just one instrument. It's like it's downtime for 5 other things. And what have I had to train myself on? Well, I've had to first of all prioritize. What is the bigger priority? Because there are bigger priorities and there are smaller priorities. And even if you have very good endeavors, they might not be as important as the biggest endeavor. You also have to think it's constant um, uh, introspection. Like you're always going inward, thinking, okay, what right now, this week, what is the biggest priority? And then set maybe a pocket of time for your smaller priorities. But I want to be so the second disadvantage in adding on to the disadvantage of things taking a way 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 more time. The second disadvantage is, well, this is a constant battle as for the prolific artist, because you want to release so many things frequently, or maybe one thing frequently, but you have these other pursuits. Now, I still want to be prolific, but I've also paced myself, and I've had realistic expectations, saying, okay, yes, I want to get this catalog of music out of the way this year, right now, but I will settle for this if I have to pursue other things. And the way to stay prolific is actually, in your multiple pursuits, is actually giving a little bit of time and a little bit of practice to everything every day, or at least every week. So what does that look like for, someone who wants to pursue music and writing, sometimes music is going to get more practice. Sometimes super collider is going to get more practice, but maybe it's like 1 hour of super collider and then just devoting another half hour to music editing for my composition or my track or mixing and mastering. And then maybe a half hour or maybe an hour for my writing. And this is why I'm nocturnal, because I stay up way late. People, they kind of make fun of me, like, you stay up so late. It's like, yeah, it's not watching Netflix or anything. It's just making sure I'm taking care of the projects I want to take care of. And so I'll get into the chat in a second, but excuse me. Um, that that's the disadvantage. Yeah, I'll talk about advantages too. So the disadvantage is time. Things are going to just take way longer if you're pursuing multiple things. And then the second is it's going to be the battle, your ever-present battle as a prolific artist. If you want to release stuff on a frequent basis, you're going to be up in arms with getting projects done and placing deadlines on yourself and giving a little time and attention to everything you want to do. And it's not equal among interests. Some things will take 2 hours one night and 15 minutes that same night. And I struggle this. This is a constant struggle I see with my students because they're involved in drama, music, sports, karate, martial arts, painting, whatever the case is. They're in 4 or 5 different things, and they come to me almost every week without practicing because, especially with school and family and friends and stuff, they hardly have the life they don't have the lifestyle to practice. As an adult, someone who doesn't go to school, who just has a job and family, you can sort of, make little pockets of time. And maybe it's just very, like I tell my students, give me 5 minutes on violin, just 5. No, that's too few. Give me 5 minutes, just hold your instrument every day. Just don't lose that feeling of the instrument. So that's the disadvantage, is time, and then the ever-present battle of being a prolific composer, because you got to still get stuff out there. You just have to manage your time so much better. Now, I think the advantage, I call it an advantage. This might be different with your experience, but I love being so diverse in my interests. I love that I can make electronic music and practice a classical piece on the violin, maybe practice some scales and some modes and some composition on the piano, and then be heavily interested in something like Star Wars, or pursuing contemporary science fiction, science fiction that is written in this time. Well, this is more of a hobby, an interest, but just loving being in video games. I like the fact that I have many interests. And the reason for that is because sometimes I think about this. Sometimes I think about, like, being so happy with my violin playing, always trying to get better because I think I am plateauing just a little bit. But always getting better with violin playing, loving the violin playing experience, loving the composition experience. But even in that sphere, there's that thing nagging at the back of my mind, like, you love this music, you're pursuing this music, but you also want to pursue science fiction. Meaning, without writing science fiction and reading science fiction and loving science fiction, I personally would not feel complete, even with a fulfilling career as a music educator and, being almost, not by world standards probably, but at least I'm on a tier with violin where I could be sort of considered cream of the crop. Not really. I'm not world class. I just have a lot of years of violin behind me. And even so, even though I'm proud of where I've been with music, there's that thing in the back of my mind where saying, you've got these stories to tell. Or the reverse or inverse, where I love being in my sci-fi work, but without pursuing music composition and experimentation, especially in electronic music, I wouldn't feel completely fulfilled. And so I would call it I would call it an advantage. I like being in different pockets of different things. And then ultimately, I will say this before I get into the chat. My love of science fiction has only grown, and my love of making stories in that genre has only grown because of electronic musicians and artists I've listened to over the years. You know, some electronic album can cultivate my imagination, like completely cultivate my imagination for when it comes to world building and stories. So I think I really hope to. The music educator thing is an entirely separate thing. But as far as my professional hobbies, I call them my professional hobbies, composing and writing science fiction and art commentary. I do believe there's a synthesis of all those three things. Before I get into the chat, I do want to say professional hobby. If I just said it, I know, but maybe I introduced it earlier in the stream. I can't remember. Um, Professional hobbies are something I pursue doing, even if it's not a career or a side income. By professional hobbies, I'm just super invested emotionally and mentally invested, spiritually also invested in these hobbies to release to the world, to market, to have them exist, to share, um, even if it's not a career. Now, professional to me means I am professional at what I do. I want to make it very, very good. And then also, it will sell. You know, I guess that's a thing you could consider professional. It's not like I'm giving away manuscripts for free or even giving music away for free unless it's an occasion. And so professional hobby means it's a hobby, but I aim to do it as if it is a career. It's certainly an endeavor. It's a life endeavor. It's a creative endeavor. It's very, very important to me. It's just me. It's just part of my identity. And so even if I don't make a complete full-time income off of it, I'll still make money off of it, however. But the point is it's got to be the best. Each of these things that I release to the world, even if I don't make a profit off of it, I want them and I treat them like little masterpieces. I want them to be a masterpiece. I want them always to be timeless in their own way. So that's what I consider as professional hobbies. Talking about art, bridging science fiction and electronic music. That's just who I am. And that's why my channel hasn't really grown like it could because I'm super eclectic. Some people will just turn to my Logic Pro videos or my Super Collider videos not caring anything about my opinions about art, and that's fine. I don't expect them to. But if I just stuck with music, I'd probably have more subscribers. Not scoffing the number I have. Actually, I'm very happy with the number I do have in subscriber count. But when you are eclectic and you want to be a YouTube channel, just be very careful. Yeah, you definitely won't have the growth unless and as channels who have very focused niches or talk about one topic all the time. So there you go. All right, let's get into the chat. That was kind of fun. Maybe you guys will have some input that will spur the imagination. All right. Let's see. Adega Outlaw says, doctor, musician, blacksmith, and novelist. See, I didn't know you were a musician or a doctor. Just curious. There's this guy that follows me on the channel, and he's a nice guy, but he and I really disagree when it comes to AI art. So I need to ask you, Adega Outlaw, are you a doctor who pursues AI art? Because this guy who every time I comment on something, and he's a nice guy. I don't want to like discount what he says, but you know, he really wants to pursue AI music because it's something he feels very proud to create. But I asked him, I said, well, why don't you learn how to do music? And he's like, I'm a doctor. I don't have time for it. I'm a doctor and I have a family. It's like, that's cool, but like you could still whip out a guitar every now and then or go to a music store and play on the piano. I mean, there's ways to pursue music that you love without reverting to AI. So yeah, there you go. So Adega Allah, it's a multifaceted experience. That's true. Ghost Planet Inc. is back. So, Dr. Y says, uh, oh yeah, I definitely fit the bill as an eclectic artist. Drawing, stop motion animation, story writing, Lego model building, and recently 3D printing. That's cool. Congratulations. It's a lot. And I've struggled with, and maybe I don't want to repeat myself, but I do, over the last 15 years, I have struggled with placing one love over the other in extreme ways. So, for instance, Super Collider is the one thing that I've really put on the back burner for the last 10 years. Um, and every time I come back to Super Collider, I love it. I love being in it. And sometimes I think, like, what is this going to amount to? That's the thing too. You might think, what is this pursuit going to amount to? And that's my, I wouldn't call it a struggle, but that's my, it's a common thought with Super Collider because I know there are really interesting things I can do with Super Collider, but will it amount to anything? And I risk taking, well, I take that risk. I think, you know what, I'm always happy in Super Collider. It, in a way, it can amount to nothing, and I'm always happy when I'm in Super Collider. It's like my happy zone. I don't know why. It's like tinkering inside a clock or something. It's like just fixing stuff or just writing out code that generates interesting things. And I'm like, is this going to amount to anything? And I have a feeling it will, but it's going to be a good 10. Well, maybe I'll get lucky, but I have a feeling I won't see the flourishing of that tree until like 10 years from now as a musician. Um, and Super Collider is one of those things that I always I would stay away from for like weeks on end. That's why I'm so slow in the learning process, is because it's like, no, composing, mixing and mastering, that's my endeavor. Oh no, I gotta publish science fiction. And then Super Collider is like the first thing that gets ignored, unfortunately. But now that I've been taking lessons with Eli Fieldsteel, there's a pressure. You know, I tell my students to practice all the time, and my Professor Geeky's like, "Did you practice Super Collider?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I gotta practice Super Collider." So I spend about a half hour every day, maybe even an hour every day, just being in Super Collider because now I'm paying lessons for getting better at it. You know. So when in doubt, take lessons. When you feel like your art is struggling or you're ignoring it, sign up for classes, take lessons, take private lessons. I highly recommend it. Not because I'm just a music teacher giving private lessons, but it gets people constantly like, oh, frequent about what their pursuit is. And they always feel guilty when they don't practice, myself included. All right. Ace Mowick says, I just want to look forward to getting up to go to work and have no anxieties. Yeah, I think that's a real artist's struggle. I struggled with this for many years where I'm like, well, I really need to make my art my business or make my music the main income. Now, I want to encourage artists who do not have that just to hang in there. And I think art can be made a business. I'm one to say that you don't pursue business as an artist. You don't pursue business at the expense of art. Your business is thriving because you've created something completely genuine, completely unique, completely excellent that people cannot live without. That's that's my mode for making money off of my music or my sci-fi writing, is that, oh, people love this so much and it's excellent. And I think artists can really struggle with working the mundane 9 to 5, 8 to 5 job. Um, when I think about 10 years ago, at the age of 27, 28 years old, I let that go. I let it go. I was completely fine with working a different job, no matter what job, even if it had nothing related to art. In fact, I think people who do have a different kind of field for income, I think they're at an advantage. If they have downtime, if they have like an hour or two a night, that it's art is their form of escape. It's a form of escaping out of the mundane. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I get it. I get the sentiment that artists want to make money exclusively off of their art. And there's no shame in that. And I think people ought to pursue it. But the art must come first. Like the art must come first. Don't follow people. I'm just saying this either from experience or this is just my opinion. Don't follow the trend like, oh, if you want to make money off of art, you need to do this category, this niche, this specialty. And if it's not something genuine to you, if it's not authentic to your art, don't pursue it. You make the art all the better. But I really want to encourage people who are artists who have another job, like a cashier job or a construction job or a receptionist job. It's like it's actually not as bad as you think. Now, if your job is horrible and you have a horrible boss and a horrible working condition, then okay, just find another job so you can relax and there's no like you don't want to take your job home with you. If you can find a job where you don't have to take it home with you, that is the ideal thing. People might not call it the American dream, but I tell you, like I've had more jobs where when I clock out, that's it. And it might not be paid that well. It might be a full-time job that just doesn't pay that great. But it's like, hey, I'm not taking my work home with me. I'm just as soon as I get home, especially if you're single, like as soon as you get home, don't turn on Netflix. Don't even turn on YouTube unless you're making dinner. Just just work on your art. I mean, there's actually a incredible sense of freedom with that. If you have no family obligations, and I'm not saying having a family is a bad thing, you just have a lot more free time as a single person. It's just like, just be grateful that you can use your art as a means to escape. Um, I would say don't have a job where you have to take your work with you. That's actually, I think I told you this guys. Actually, I was right before I moved out of state when I lived in Little Rock, right before I quit my job to move out of state to pursue music teaching. This is 8 years ago now. It's kind of hard to think about. My supervisor, it was year three. I was just a receptionist. I just made coffee. I answered the phone calls. I talked to project managers. I helped with getting things on the floor in the production area of the storage plant that I worked for. And 3 years after being with the same supervisor, because he started the same time I started, and and he really appreciated that I stuck around with the same job for 3 years. I was just that way. Like, I'm not afraid to, like, if I got fired or laid off, like, I'm not afraid to move on to another job. Like, there's no job that's beneath me. I'll take a job if I need to get another job. But he was really appreciative of me just sticking around, and I think I said it the same day I was about to quit. I said, listen, I need to pursue teaching music. He I'll never forget, he took me out to like the parking lot just outside, and he promoted me, or he was about to promote me. He's like, I think you're great as a receptionist. I would like for you to hire you as or promote you. The company wants to promote you to be a junior project manager, and this could lead to a project management position, which would like triple my salary. And I was so appreciative. I said, thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Um, and I said no because I was moving anyway to teach music. But I remember, even if I didn't move out of state, even if I stayed with that job, I don't know if I would have wanted that project management position, because there was one thing I had that they did not have. I could just go home. I was a receptionist, simple job. Didn't pay for a lot, but like I was like, okay, 8 to 5, answer the phone, make coffee, chat with project managers. No glory in that, but I did not take my work home with me. Those project managers, they were always super stressed. They were super stressed. Every day they were stressed. Even on Fridays, where they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can work I can go home for 2 days straight." It's like, but they still took their work with them even on the weekend. It's like, I didn't need that. So find a job where you don't have to take your work home with you, and then work on your art. Um, but then also see if you can, as an artist, see if you can build your skill to. One sec. Am I on? Can you guys hear me? I'll just wait for the answer. I think I did cut out my Scarlet interface. Okay, oh dear. Can you hear me? Okay, I am back. Oh, my chat is really slow. Was I just gone for the seconds or was I gone for a few minutes? Well, anyway, I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, my Scarlet interface just disconnected. I don't know how. I wonder if StreamYard, no offense to StreamYard, but I get these vibes that StreamYard might like may not be the best. I don't know. But all right. Oh no! My camera's gone, guys. Ah, my camera's not working. That's that's too bad. All right, guys. Well, as long as you can hear the audio. Um, huh. Okay. Well, I don't want to turn off my stream. But yeah, my camera. This. Oh, I have this trouble with Zoom too, where my camera just totally switches off, and I have to restart my computer. Um, I guess. Yeah, I can't cut out my live stream. Oh well. Audio it is only. R.I.P. camera. Yeah. Oh well. But anyway, so I was saying, what was I saying? I was talking about like finding, just have a job no matter what it pays. Have a job that you don't have to take home with you. Like just don't be stressed. You have a job that's easy, doesn't have to pay well, and then it has, um okay, I'm seeing people like I get nervous. As long as you can hear me. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. So what was I saying? I'll go ahead and go back to the chat before this interruption. Um, I think that's all I wanted to say as far as work. It, just all in all, I've been in total acceptance of. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. And I hear my husband, so let's see what he says. Hi.
We can hear you fine. You were just gone for a second, and I think your chat's just a little slow. That's what's freaking you out.
Oh, the chats, because I'm only on StreamYard. Yeah. Thanks, love. All right. Okay, let's see. I'll think about talking about jobs, talking about being content making your art the way you want to make your art, even if it's not much money. Oh well, let me go back into the chat and maybe I'll refresh my brain too. But okay, let's see. I'm going further up on the chat. Okay. A Final Fantasy fan says the biggest regret a lot of people would say when they hit their 50s and 60s is, "I wish I could have done this X many years ago." Yeah, there's a truth to that, and I don't take like I'm not okay. I say this, I'm not old, but I'm not young. Like, well, older people would say, "No, you're young. You're in your 30s," and it's like, I want to be sensitive about my mortality, and but I do see the conundrum. I do see people in their 60s and 70s wish they did something 30 or 40 years ago. And there's nothing you could do about that. Like, you can't, reverse physics and you can't de-age. That's just the nature of the beast. And it's a very tragic nature of the beast if it comes to that. But I also encourage people at that age just to continue doing what they want to do. I Even at 60 or 70 years old, and I don't know where I will be there mentally or well, I hope to be wonderfully spiritually good, a good sound person at 60 or 70 years old. God willing that I stay around that long. Um, but yeah, it is kind of hard because you want all those years back. It's a very terrible truth. You want all those years back, but at the same time, I hope that no matter what I'm doing at that age, I'm still doing what I love. I see these people, these interviews, these really professionally done interviews on YouTube, and these people are 60 or 70 years old and they don't look it. It's not, they look like they don't think about it, you know? Have you ever seen those people? They're like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're 60. Wow, you have grandchildren." It's like that's amazing. And I want to be at that mindset when I'm 60 or 70 where the age doesn't bother me, where I'm very content, very happy to just continue what I'm doing. You never want to waste your life. That's a thing I always ask myself, like, what can I be doing with my time that is good, that is fruitful, even if it's just self-enrichment, even if it has nothing to do with professionalism or my career. You know, am I am I being good with the time I'm given? And I think that can be a really major regret for a lot of people. But that's not to dissuade you, for whatever age you are, to pursue the hobby you love, no matter what age you are. I think I've said this before, but one of my students, she's 68 years old now, and she plays violin for self-enrichment, and she knows a 91-year-old who took up cello at 91. You would think at that age, even the person being that age would think, well, I'm 91. But that didn't stop this lady from picking up the cello. She's like, she always wanted to play cello. And so she started playing cello at 91. And it's like, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. All right. See what you guys have to say. All right. Let's see. Brian Gilmartin says, I've said this before, but my own art pulls from many sources, including video games, comic artists. I love metal music, and even pro wrestling. Would that count as eclectic? I would, well, yes, maybe. What you're describing is, it sounds like more inspiration. So, like, for instance, when I say eclectic, I mean, like, I love video games, but I want to include it as my professional hobby. Um, like I love analyzing video game soundtracks. At least internally, I haven't done any real YouTube videos on it apart from Donkey Kong. But I don't pursue video games like I pursue sci-fi writing. Um, and so if you're a comic book creator or a comic artist and that's your endeavor, yes. If you're wanting to take up pro wrestling, yes. That's what I mean more by eclectic. Or, maybe you're a commentator on pro wrestling. That would be eclectic. So if you were actively pursuing it like a endeavor or professional endeavor, meaning it's a lot of your time and attention, and maybe you're recording a documentary on your favorite athletes, for instance, I would say that's eclectic, even though it's more of a speaking commentator perspective. But if it's something you're just watching like as a recreational thing, I don't know. I probably your interests are eclectic, but what I mean by eclectic interests is that you're pursuing something to release to the world. So I'm not pursuing visual art in that I'm taking up painting or sculpture, but I'm pursuing art as a mode of communicating what art is and how important it is to the world. So whatever form my art commentary takes, I would count that in with my music education and my writing and stuff like that. You also continued. Also, I used to be. You also used to take martial arts, which I think um, also has figured into this kind of characters I want to create. Okay, so a mode of inspiration, and you did take martial arts. Yeah, that could. I would say that's eclectic. I think that would be a really good background to have that experience, so you can understand fighting stances and styles for your writing or your visual art. I think that's cool. Amy L says, that is where I'm stuck. I don't have consistent practice in any of these areas I'm trying to do. Here's my secret sauce, my secret ingredient. Uh, Give each of your pursuits a half hour a day, 20 minutes to a half hour a day every day, give or take weekends, obviously, give or take traveling. Um, I think just even a little bit, like a few minutes every day, is going to make all the difference. People don't believe me. I see the disbelief on every parent's face when I say to my students, and then I, of course, say to my parents or their parents, I say, listen, all they need to do is be at the piano. All they need to do is look at maybe a measure of music, or they don't even have to look at 2 pages. Like if I assign them to look at 2 pages for the week, have them look at just one thing. Have them look just at one page. Have them sing. Have them clap the rhythm. Have them listen to a YouTube video. Have them immersed somehow. And if that only takes 10 minutes a day, I can't be happier because when a student comes having just spent a little time every day, it's the improvement is so profound to me. Like I tell them because I believe in them. I say, "Listen, did you practice?" They say, "Yes." And I know when they did, and I know when they did not. And they can't hide it from me, and they know they can't. And then I said, "Did you look at this piece of music?" And when they said yes, I said, "I knew it. Like it's so much better this week. Like I knew you could do it." But it's not like, unless you want to be a world-class musician and you need to practice like 5 to 8 hours a day or whatever, at least in your earlier years, okay, that's one thing. But we're not talking about being a world-class musician. We're just talking about getting good at your instrument, and that's 15 minutes a day. That's a half hour a day. And you don't see the change. I mean, I honestly, I'm only starting to see the change. I've just begun seeing the breakthroughs of my craft after 15 years after pursuing higher education in music. So you won't see it. You'll be at your desk, you'll be at your instrument, you'll hold your instrument, you'll write your story, you'll look at your art, you'll spend a few minutes at the desk or the drawing board, and you won't feel like you've changed. But if you're getting the right instruction and you apply that right instruction, you I promise you it's going to make a difference, even just 30 minutes on one thing, 30 minutes on another thing. Or if you can't even do 30 minutes, just 15 minutes on the different things. And it's chiseling away at the stuff, and again, you won't see progress until, oh my goodness, you probably won't see progress for a while, but it's coming. That's the thing, is if you're applying the right instruction and the right skill building, it will come. Like it's guaranteed to come. Your craftsmanship will be inevitable, but it's got to be frequency over time. People think it's time. People think, well, if I do 2 hours one day a week, that'll be enough. It's like, no, it's actually better that you break up that 2 hours and do 15 minutes to half an hour every day, not 2 hours like on a Saturday. It just won't work. I've learned that the hard way, to be honest. Dr. Y says, if I could put time in a bottle, yeah. Ace Mowick says, also depends on how ADHD one is. It's like, I want to doodle, now I want to write, now I want to play this instrument, now I want to tell jokes. I think so. I have a couple students with ADHD, and the one thing, at least with one student of mine, he was he wasn't a problem child with me, but it makes me a little upset. It's true with a lot of piano teachers, not even so much violin teachers, but I sort of adopt students from other piano teachers, and they just kind of breeze through a book, like here's the book level one, and then it's obvious the student doesn't even have the fundamentals to finish that book. So I actually had to start. I went through the book very painstakingly with this one ADHD kid, and he's actually a good kid. He's like not emotional at all, and he looks like he's having the worst time in the world. But he's in his own stoic little way. I see he has respect for what I say. It was hard to see that for many, many weeks. But anyway, I had to say, listen, I know you've been through this book. I know with your other teacher, you think you can do this, and I hate bringing this up to students because you think like you're demoting them, like oh they're not as good as they. It's like no, we just got to work to the fundamentals. So I started him with a like a premiere, like a preliminary book of the same series, and I said, listen, let's get through this book. I know it probably looks easy, but we've got to work on timing, rhythm, and note direction. And it was like pulling teeth for many months with this kid. And it's in some ways it still kind of is, but my goodness, all he decided to do, and he actually likes to draw comic books. I think he wants to be a comic book artist when he grows up. But all he decided one thing. And I don't think I decided for him. And I don't maybe his dad didn't either, but I said or he said to me, he said, I decided to focus just 5 minutes a day on piano. And ever since he made that decision, give or take traveling weeks, weeks of traveling on spring break or whatever, ever since he made that decision to apply 5 minutes a day, it has been so much better. His piano playing, his reading comprehension, his fundamentals have gotten so much better. And he does have ADHD, but his ADHD told him that he could not succeed until he had absolute focus on just doing 5 to 10 minutes a day. And everything's so much better after that. So you kind of have to gauge the personality, the learning curve, maybe even a learning disorder. And maybe I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if ADHD students have an advantage or disadvantage. But you really do have to navigate it. Amy L says, and staying nocturnal works for a while, but stops working eventually. There's a little bit of truth to that. Professor Geek and I are horribly nocturnal. And I do have a threshold though. I can't stay up so late or else I won't have any sleep. Amy L says, oh, I guess you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Amy L actually raises a good point. So Brian's talking about a full-time job and how that can be really hard with his artistic pursuits. Amy L responds, and I agree with this. Not having a full-time job isn't much better, actually. You just end up screwing up with your schedule. I think that's true. Maybe people have okay, I'll say this. You have to have worlds of discipline. So let's say you don't have a full-time schedule and you maybe have a lot more time on your hands. You have to be even you have to be even more disciplined. I think there's almost I would say a bigger pressure you have to put on yourself if you have more time on your hands because you can squander time. I think everyone struggles with squandering time. It's a very easy thing to do. Even if you're busy, like as a parent, or you've got a full-time job, or maybe you're both, you know, it's very easy to just want to like let it go and just like I'll get to it when I have an easier lifestyle or something. That is a very true. Uh, it's a reality, I would say. Yep. Crystal Ashes is answering to both of this. I'm thankful that I have a part-time job rather than a full-time job, as it gives me time to work on my interests. Yeah. Yeah, if you can get by with a part-time job, um, that's wonderful. My music teaching is technically part-time. I have about 40 between 35 and 40 students, give or take. And that's effectively like 20 to 25 hours, which is part-time. But it sure doesn't feel like part-time. I'm completely drained after like teaching 5 hours straight, like because I'm introverted, but teaching is such a social thing, and you have to be with different learning personalities, different cognitive personalities, different backgrounds, and all that. Yeah. Miss Joseph's Corner, good to see you. You say I can't even get employed due to not having a high school diploma. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. I I'm sure I've run into some people, some production line workers who didn't get their diploma or GED, but that was many years ago when I was a receptionist. I will say, unless your college degree is a benefit to your application. Like some music studios, for instance, that I worked at, they wanted a music college degree before they hired the teacher. Um, One guy had to prove that he was a really good drum instructor and a teacher to get hired, so he proved it to them. He probably like did some they sat in the lesson with him or something. Um, but for all other jobs, I kind of leave my education out. I've had cashier jobs, receptionist jobs, um, retail jobs, and I would leave the college degrees out because I don't want to be overqualified. But I don't know how the high school diploma factors in. I wish I did. Sorry. Okay, I'll see you later, if it's Joseph's Corner. It's over 7 o'clock already. Crystal Ashes says, uh, Adega uses AI generated images for his book reading videos. Now that's different because he's a writer. If he did AI writing, that would be different. We'd have to have a talk, Adega Outlaw. Um, AI generated images for a supplemental thing like thumbnails and YouTube videos or images to stream for YouTube. I mean, I know what AI looks like. If you're if you're a writer needing that extra thing, I'm gonna have to just be fine with that. You know, it's been a long stretch of me going against the topic of AI. Um, I would say don't pursue AI. Like, don't pursue composing music with AI generated stuff if you want to pursue composing music. Now, for the commentator or the podcast person, or even the novelist who is putting music like ambient music to you know a thing of visual images. If you're a writer, don't do AI for writing. If you're a composer, don't do AI for composing. Um, I hire artists and I for book covers, to yeah market my stories. I always hope, I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt that they have not used AI generation. And they're not completely expensive artists. I mean, I would definitely consult if I'm paying like a pretty penny, but for like $100 or $50 or whatever, and there's a little bit of AI generation. As long as it like, I don't like it, but the point is my stories are not AI generated. So I know that there are artists who will use AI imagery. I would always prefer hiring artists to just make art. Um, if it's not the thing you're pursuing, I guess it's not my favorite, but I'll make an exception. So like if someone like for instance, like if you guys need music and I'm just too expensive to hire, then yeah, I mean, find your AI tracks. Um, it would be a very different, wonderful experience. Like if you want, okay, let's give the example. If you wanted to do like a visual novel, for instance, and you could do the images, and maybe you could even write the visual novel. That's awesome, but if you can't hire a composer and you just want like ambient music in the background, it's not going to be the best novel experience. I don't think it would be the best artistic experience, but if that's in your budget and you're like, okay, I'm just going to use AI for music for the visual novel, okay. I can't fault you. I cannot fault you with that. If you're a visual artist and then doing AI visual art, then yeah, I'll fault you for that. So yeah, if Adega uses AI images for his story, well, his art is his writing. It's not his it's not the actual, and it's also a YouTube channel, which is a very different medium than hiring an artist to do a graphic novel. I would really anyone who's hiring any artist for any graphic novel, please, no AI. Like I'm seeing telltale signs like, oh, I think that background's AI. I'm like, no, but the artist is real. Anyway, you guys are getting me on the AI train. So anyway, let's continue on. Ace says, I've contemplated online lessons with the Joe Kubert School. Oh my, nice. Well, I don't know who Kubert is, but yeah, online courses, lessons. I'm all for the online education space. Private Eye says, I've taken classes. I just now finished my first draft of my full story. Finally, one day I might be able to publish it. Good. Congratulations. Hey, Stunning and Brave. Good to see you. Yeah, you just roboted, but you're back. Yeah, that was from the little interruption. I'd like to be back on my camera, but oh well. Brian says, I sometimes take my drawing tools with me to work on drawing coloring during lunch break. Cool. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, a few minutes every day makes it all the better. I just, it's guaranteed, I promise. I know people, you don't have to take my word for it, but I see it in my students, I see it in my own experience, and I think there's just so much value to that. Dr. Y says, I think I need a new job. I work manufacturing, but it's been stressful lately. Then when I get home, you feel totally zonked. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to each his own, but I would prefer a lower paying job that I could just leave when I clock out that does not give me anxiety. I mean, even if it's a stressful day at work, but you could put that behind you when you go home. That's yeah. Although it's so much better now, but like from October to freaking March or April this year, the last couple of years, um, it's been a very stressful work situation for me. It's finally gotten good. It's finally ever since we got a great new manager and I capped off on the students. I'm like, no, I can't teach more than 38 students. I just can't. It's gotten so much better, but before then, it was just really. I was taking it one day at a time. It really was that. Ace Moak says, in the end, we're all gonna die. Yeah, it's true. That is true. All right. Interesting. As Rocky said, time is unbeatable. That's the one thing you can never get back. It's so sobering to think about when you think about it deeply. Is when people get you ever see people whether in your real life or maybe you hear it on YouTube or whatever or in something like a TV show. It's like people understandably get really upset with others who waste their time because more than money, more than even relationships to an extent, you just don't get your time back. Like once your time is gone, it's gone. And there's nothing more draining, energy sapping when someone is, especially when they're deliberately wasting your time. And you want to be charitable, you really want to be generous with people, but you also have to set up those boundaries saying, listen, I've got to run. There are things I need to do. Um, yeah, because time is something you can't give back or get back. Crystal Ashes says, all we have to do, yeah, exactly. I love that quote. All we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given us. Yeah, given to us. Asa says, the late, great Cliff Burton practiced bass 6 hours a day when he joined in a certain world renowned metal band. Well, what's the world? Oh, Metallica. See, prof would know that. My prof would know all that music trivia. Like I know I don't know actors very well. I don't know musicians, which is kind of weird for me to say. Like I know legendary musicians, but yeah. But I guess they are legends now that I think about it. These people you're bringing up. But AI is just a tool. Yeah. Until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life. Good stuff. Maybe he's training you to become Batman. Um, Dr. Y says, I admit I played with I played around with AI music, but I haven't used it in my videos yet. Yeah, I think AI music can be passable. Here's the one thing though, I think it might have changed, but you do have to make sure you have to give credit to the platform you're using for AI music, which most people don't. Whether it's in your title or your description, you have to include that bit. Yeah. Or whatever platform you're using. So if you are using Suno for something like credit music or podcast intro music or whatever, I think you do need to credit them. I think that's in their terms of service. So as long as you're doing it ethically, even though I don't think AI is ethical in many, 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 many ways, as long as you credit the AI platform, then it should be good. But I know I'm beating the bush at this point. My issue with AI is you're if if you're not outright taking someone's music without pay or without credit. But if you are a certain artist, pursue it with human endeavor, with human effort. Like I said before, if you're hiring an artist for a graphic novel, make sure there's no AI. Make sure that AI artist that you're paying, sorry, make sure that artist rather you're paying is not using AI. Otherwise, pay them very little. Like I'm serious about that. Like I'll be honest, guys. I love that I published Secondhand Sunset, and I need to continue promoting it. And I'm happy with the image I have. It wasn't quite the image I wanted, but it wasn't a lot of money either. And it was like, okay, maybe he uses this background very frequently or something. Like you could, it's like, okay, it's $20. I paid him and I'll keep paying him for different things. I loved actually I one reason why I hired him was more his font for his titles. I thought they were great. I was like, they're very distinct. His book covers are very distinct. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I like that feel for the book cover. So if it is AI generated or mostly AI, okay, I'm like, it was 20 or 30 bucks. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Now if I paid an artist for a hard book like something like a paperback or a hard book cover, I am consulting with the artist. I'm like, listen, I need your art. I don't want AI. I need your illustration or your photo, even Photoshop if it's ethically done. Like, I don't want AI at all, and I will pay you extra money for that. But the book reader can be, rest assured, um, the writing is all mine because that's my art. It's the storytelling. It's the actual writing. So anyway, I'm probably so redundant when it comes to this, but I'm also so forward about it too. But am I the only one noticing like independent artists who are kind of looking into AI for their graphic novels and stuff? It's like I don't like that. So if you told me, let's say you have a really good attractive campaign. You're doing maybe an anime visual novel, or maybe not even anime, but like anime style or American style visual novel, and it's going to look great. It's going to be like a 2 hour production, and you're just reading through this beautiful, beautiful, or hopefully beautiful visual novel. And then you start to understand that the visuals of the visual novel is AI generated. I wouldn't back a campaign like that. I wouldn't back a graphic novel. Even if the story was interesting, I just like I can't do it. I can't I can't. I need an actual artist working in the space. Crystal Ashes says, I wouldn't dream of using AI because I feel like I could never fully claim it as my own work. Oh my gosh, that's so true. That is so true. Um, yeah, I mean that's why I tell like this one doctor who follows me from time to time and he comments on my AI commentary. It's like he says he's so proud of his work. He's like, I've got thousands of views on it and like people are actually listening, and why don't you listen? Because I think it's great. I'm like, it can be great. And actually it's not really that great. I'm sorry if you're listening. I apologize. It's very redundant and there are so many faults in your album, but that's besides the point. It sounds great, but it's when you think about it and with an analytical professional perspective, there's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of missteps. Anyway, on the surface, it might sound great, and maybe it is great. What if it's compositionally fantastic? That's the point, isn't it? Where are you again? You say it's not yours. It's not yours, even if it's even if you produced it and told the machine with prompts what you want, with interesting looking album covers or whatever it is. It's like it's not yours integrally. Like Secondhand Sunset, that story is mine. For all the imperfections or for the great moments of that story, it's mine. Like all those words are mine. No one can claim it as their own because I made those words flow together. And yes, I needed some editing and some editorial feedback. And then there's still like I prof this is a sidebar, but like there I actually was about to publish Secondhand Sunset like a week or two prior, but then I saw some editing mistakes that I it was already in the Kindle format. I already paid this guy. I said, "Listen, can you fix this?" And he said, "Oh, I'd have to do it all again." I said, "Listen, then don't worry, I'm going to pay you again." And it wasn't a lot of money anyway, but I had to fix it. So it was like a whole other week of just editing. And then I'm like, no more. I'm done. Even if it's not completely perfect, I'm done. I paid him again. He formatted again, and now you have the final result. And it was a grammatical error. It was like a tense error or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I can get rid of this sentence and stuff. And even now, I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if I needed that paragraph, but it's done. What's done is done. But it's mine. It's not anyone else's. And I love that story. I love that story. I uh I finished another story that I'm sending into the editing workshop. It's a lot more epic. It's not art commentary at all. It's a frontiersman story, and I love it. I love it. But it's my first draft, so I have to make sure I finish it. It's a tool. Those are your words, Megatron, not mine. It could be less stunning, and Brave Megatron says it'd be less offensive if the AI programs took from the public domain images as opposed to real artists' work. It's so true. It's so true. It's like you're. I do think it's stealing. Even if it's like a simple lo-fi ambient, like the most generic ambient music out there, and then you take to make it an AI model. Um, it's not yours. It's not. There's no integrity behind it. There's really isn't. Reason why AI artists are the art is worthless because anyone can make it. Real art can only be made by specific people in a specific way, which makes it more valuable. Yeah. And maybe, you know what, actually, this kind of is going full circle with the topic of being an eclectic artist because there is that temptation like, oh my gosh, I want to be in music, I want to be in writing, I want to do more content for my YouTube channel or whatever the case is. And you can find yourself really tempted to say, well, if I can cut half the work or half the hours for my content commentator work so I can focus on my other stuff. And there is that temptation. There's that almost that practicality, but it's like, no, just keep doing it to the best of your ability. And here, actually, guys, for AI music, okay, real quick for you visual artists, if you are looking into advertising with your music, in fact, I think Adega Outlaw, if I remember correctly, I think he's hired an electronic artist for some of his stuff, for his visual video stuff for his writing. I don't know who the artist is, but I think it's one ambient composer. And from what I heard, it's been a long time since I've heard it. I thought it was pretty good. Um, Here's what you can do. As artists who really need music but want to make sure it's done with integrity, go to a music library. Pay like $50 to get licensed music, like music that you have licensed to use. I wish AI did not replace that. People who would write for sound libraries or music libraries, they don't make a lot of money as it is, but you can buy a music library. There's by the way, there's so many libraries out there. I would love to make a music library someday. I just don't think I need to, unless people would be really interested in it. But to make a library of like 30 tracks or whatever, and then sell it for like 50 or $100, and then that you don't hire an artist for that, you don't hire a composer for that, but you pay the fee to license that music. And it's completely ethical. It's completely legal. Now, some of the people, like some of these like remixing platforms I was talking about last week, they would say, "Oh, yeah, it's a library of artists that we use that we can give to you so you can, make money off of viral videos or whatever." But they did it a little shady. They they did it a little dirty because some of these users that were making money off of music, like with Instagram or whatever, they weren't like they didn't. The original artist wasn't notified or monetized, so it's like it's a little dirty. But no, it's completely ethical to buy like a $200, $100 library of sound samples and um, uh, instruments and music, like ambient tracks or whatever, or epic cinematic music. Like there are specific libraries out there that you could buy that you can ethically use for your visual novel. Or and then maybe okay, maybe you need to hire one time a music consultant because maybe you have a track for one scene or one character or one idea, but then you need something else like, oh, what kind of music should I work with there, and maybe hire a music consultant. Hey, hire me. I would know how to do something like that. I Man, I know we're almost 7:30. I will say this too. Um People I respect, indie artists I do respect. I do like. I go on their YouTube channels all the time. I will say, um, they mean well with their independent art. They do. But when it comes to video trailer music, it's not bad, but it could be so much better. And I would love to do a demo for some of these people I have respect for. Like some people do like classical music or like ultra rock music for like a fantasy setting or like edgy electronic music for like a noir setting. And I'm like, just give me time. Can you just pay me a flat rate? I could get something better for you. Maybe not something perfect for you, but I could give you the mood. Because some of these trailers I see dozens of these trailers. Like I see dozens of these trailers on a weekly basis for the independent graphic novel scene or whatever, and it's like the music is fine, but it it can be so much better. It can be so much better. And it's like, is it true that I have time to do it? Probably not. But like, I would love to learn how to do trailer music like that is appropriate to the genre. Um, because some of this music is just like, oh, it doesn't work. And why doesn't it work? Because some people are visual artists. Some people are writers. They don't have the musical sensibilities that someone like yours truly may have. But again, you don't have to hire a composer. You can buy a library and it's ethically done. And in fact, maybe it would behoove you. Maybe would it benefit you guys, like you visual artists? Like I can look it up. I can look up sound libraries and music libraries that would really fit different projects, but I digress. I really do digress. It's almost a 2-hour stream. Also, fair use laws. Yeah, I know. Oh, things that people get away with. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Stunning and Brave Megatron says, I saw someone try defending AI art by saying that people make music videos with movie clips and stuff all the time or what have you, and that it's no different than AI stealing artist cues. Well, I mean, that's a different kind of comparison, but I will say people clipping music videos or movie videos like actual film, who's to say they're not dinged for that? Like like I know YouTubers who will be very popular and their music videos or excuse me, their film analysis videos will be so popular, but they will not be monetized. Those types of videos will not be monetized because things like Warner Brother Warner Brothers Music Group will penalize them. YouTube will absolutely penalize copywritten material for YouTube videos. Now maybe the YouTuber won't be upfront about it, but people like I think they're coming back, but they went on a real big break. I thought they were leaving entirely, but the YouTuber duo, Two Set Violin, like even classical music, like they would do like a comedy skit, and they'll play like the like a Beethoven sonata in the background, and YouTube will ding them for a Beethoven sonata. It's like, and they had to be upfront with their audience saying, "Listen, we're hardly getting by with the like we get hundreds they get hundreds and thousands of views for every video because they're that popular." And if they put even classical music as background music, they'll get dinged for that. Um, so that's without going down the rabbit hole, that's one reason why it can't be compared because people who do clips of copyrighted material for their YouTube commentary have gotten penalized for that. So it's not, yeah, interesting. But you're actually seeing the difference here. The difference is the lack of compensation. Not all artists get paid for their work, and the people who made the movies or what have you got paid for the work. Yeah, exactly. As a one-time thing. Yeah, as a one-time commission. Yep, you're right. They got their money. And these video makers will still get penalized. Crystal Ashes says, I'm interested in getting into electronic music making. I'll be sure to check your counsel if and when I need it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I haven't done original electronic music videos. Like, I mean, I still need to do I still need to do Logic videos. I just don't have anything to teach in Logic Pro. When I do, I make a video. I'm like, oh man, that's really educational. As soon as I think something is really valuable and educational, I'll make a video. Even that night, I'll just record it. That's what I did with Omnisphere a couple weeks back. That's what I've done with MuseScore tutorials that get a lot of views. So I'm really up for educational videos. Yeah, copyright claims exist for a reason. Yep. Uh, Megatron says, but now people are able to sell shirts using AI art. That's so weird. And they don't have to pay the artists that the AI program borrowed from. Yeah, that's the whole ethical crisis, isn't it? It's yeah. Hey, Francisco's here. You say before OpenAI and ChatGPT, I wrote in my manifestation prayer journal that I could create a feature-length animated film in one afternoon using an automated uh, set of tools, but I wanted to use my own data. Interesting. I have that right. Yeah, I okay, so do I have this right? Do I am I if I'm understanding you correctly, you are working with a platform of sorts, like a set of tools, but your data is your own, meaning it's your own creation. I think that's a actually that's what my one of my favorite musicians in the whole world is Jordan Rudess, keyboardist of Dream Theater, but he was also known for Liquid Tension Experiment, which is I really like some of their albums a lot. And I've always loved following his musicianship and his musical pursuits, but he has jumped on the AI bandwagon. He's always been a front runner of music technology, so I don't fault him for that. But I'm like, oh, Rudis, you sold your soul. Now I would never pursue this myself, but here's where I'm like, okay, first of all, it's his own consent. And the AI he's working with, I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't like that there could be an AI Jordan Rudess out there someday. I really don't. I just want him because he's so much better. He's so much better on the keyboard, whether it's a synthesizer or just the piano. His music is infinitely more interesting, even off the cuff, on the fly. So much more interesting than his demos with AI. There's no comparison. That's besides the point. But what I can, in a very careful way, appreciate is any AI he's working with is his own input. He's not taking it from other musical artists. He's not taking it from other painters or visual artists. It's a program that is specifically feeding off of his own musical input. I would never do that myself as a musician. I don't care about that kind of legacy. I don't care about that like front runner thinking or forerunner thinking. But if I have to draw the line and make an exception, it's with his own consent and it's his own input. If I would make any exception to that, for AI, it would be that specific example. I still don't like it. I don't, it's kind of like the whole Whitney Houston holographic concert, you know? It's like, I don't like it. There's just something uncanny valley about it. And I don't suppose, even if Jordan Rudess, he's 68 years old now, even if he spent the rest of his life cultivating his own AI Jordan Rudess thing, I still don't think it can be compared to his actual musicianship. But if it's his own consent and if he's only doing his own input in this AI specific program, okay, whatever. Like, I don't like it myself. I would never do it myself. Like, the closest I'll do is Super Collider, but Super Collider is not AI because I write the code. I tell Super Collider what to do. Like, I'll have Super Collider take the sounds that I make and the audio looping tracks that I make. Like, I make those tracks for Super Collider, you know? And still, Super Collider is not going to learn off of that. Like, Super Collider is only told what it's told by an actual musician and composer. So I love technology, but I'm like, yeah, AI, man, is such a slippery slope. Anyway, man, I could talk about this all. This is another stream, guys. We're at 2 hours already. Wait a second. Let's finish your comments. Um, let's see. Stunning and brave Megatron, you say they should have a system where you can register your artwork online that detects whenever an AI program borrows from it, and have it so you automatically get some sort of payment for your work. I 100% agree. 110%. Um, the idea that they don't have anything of the sort in place, and it's got to be as robust, if not more robust, than the AI technology we have now. It's, yeah, oh man, bro. I'm seeing a startup company right now. Who wants to do that? I don't have the acumen or skill to do that. Oh man, oh man. There's got to be something like that happening out there. If there's not, someone needs to do it. Oh my gosh. Guys, whoever has like a computational skill set of chops and you have a worthy endeavor, that's like that is a very noble pursuit right there. Um what a brilliant idea. Francisco says, I've prayed for it, but I haven't figured out how to do it. I know the letters I, C, and S can draw any image, so it would be my handwriting used as an algorithm. Interesting. Brian Gilmartin says, yeah, I don't know. Oh, peace out. I'll see you later. Um, I'm going to take off here since I got to work tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Oh, you're saying peace out to Brian Gilmartin. Yeah, I'll probably cut it off in the next 5 or 10 minutes. But yeah, VPN for artists so it can detect AI using their work and they get compensated for it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can someone do that, please? I'm just a little YouTube channel. I don't suppose this idea is out there. There's got to be someone doing that. Thank you, Megatron, for breathing that into existence, because it would be a wonderful pursuit. I think someone who can tackle this by the bullhorns and just say enough, we need to get these artists compensated. Because AI to me would not be a problem. I'm going to tell that we always talk about AI. More than Star Wars, we talk about AI. I will say this, guys. I love technology. You know that about me. I work in electronic music and I love Super Collider. I love technology. I really do. AI in and of itself would not be a problem if there were no ethical implications behind it. If like there was no breach of morality, there was no breach of ethics, there was no theft, there's no people swindling other people. If if everything was done, I might not do it myself, but if everything was done in an ethical way, whether through the Supreme Court or something like Megatron is saying, I still wouldn't do AI art myself because I believe in the origination of the human effort and input and imagination. But I don't think I would have such a strong reaction against AI art if it was ethically pursued. Because it's like if someone copied, like if a musician or a composer copied someone else's work and claimed it as their own, even if it was all human input and all human effort, it would still be wrong because it's stealing. But man, yeah. Like so if you used AI to combat unethical AI, that would be interesting. That or just a type of technology that would combat unethical use of AI. Bring it, man. I would love to see that. I would love to see that. And I say this not getting scared that my own music will be taken advantage of and exploited. I don't think my music will. One reason presently is I'm just not a popular artist. The other reason is I'm not on these platforms that can do that without my knowledge. Sorry, I got to cough 1 second. I don't have any fear for myself. I don't have any fear that my music will be taken and stolen. I lament over other people having to deal with this. Megatron says also it'd also be an easy way for starving freelance artists to make some money off of their work. I think that's true. Can you imagine if someone took your original piece and they used it to monetize and maybe they had a viral video and so they're making like 40 or $50 a day off of your original track, even if it's remixed. Because a remix, oh man, it's too late, guys. We're on the 2 hour mark. But like, I think one of the most offensive things that I've seen is that people can remix your music and then claim it as their own because of certain platforms. And there should be a platform that combats that and says, hey, 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 no, 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 no. You're making $50 on this one video. Well, you're only going to get a little bit of a cut because it's your video, but the rest of it is going to the original artist. Like that that should be a given. And I know there are people out there that can do that kind of thing. I would probably pray about it, to be honest. I think this is a spiritual, it's not like a spiritual warfare like about like principalities and powers, but it's like it really is a moral conundrum we're in this digital age and I would hope someone would think of doing something like that. I'd back it. If it was like a startup campaign or something, I would back it in a heartbeat because I think that's really important. Anyway, man, we're at the 2 hour mark right now, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. So most likely no Easter Sunday stream because it's Easter, and Prof will be going to the Vigil Easter Mass next evening, Saturday evening. So we will probably take a break, a 2 week break, but we'll be back. We'll be back. And thank you guys so much for your input. It's been great talking about art. And until I see you next, keep producing, preserving, and promoting that good art you love. And I will catch you later.